Okay, hello guys, this is Johnny Mnemonic. It's been a while, but we are back with another tutorial. In this one we're gonna rig this car to gain full control over it. It's gonna be Mass Effects or reactor independent, so that's the idea. And we're gonna use it in creating this little effect. Zoom, zoom. So as you can see, it's rolling, pitching, it has locomotion and other things like that. Now there is a tutorial on this on YouTube from Joey Enders, which is good, but I thought putting some twist in it and simplify that a little bit, and yeah, so, and preparing the mesh and troubleshoot some stuff that I encountered while rigging my suckers. I'm gonna show you how this rig works. Okay, so let's go ahead and rig this Enzo. First we need to prepare the mesh, which means do single object from as many things as possible. So I'm gonna attach the calipers and everything that's there, just so I know when I grab it, it holds together. So that's one. Yeah, something here and here. Actually, this Enzo, you can have this for free on our channel. It's right here. Password should appear on the screen right now. Since you're coming from the tutorial, you don't need to ask me for the password. So we're gonna attach this, and basically you're gonna do this for everything that you want to manipulate separately. Now always match material IDs to material. That way it will create multi-sub-object material, which gives you control over that later as well. So you can, change materials. Assuming you have model that is already textured, I highly encourage you to texture a model first, organized, like assign materials to the different parts, like for the hull, for the wing, and stuff like that. So later when you want to retexture it, you don't have so much trouble with it. That's basically it. Okay, so I believe we got the calipers, everything in place. Always also double check before you move to the next step, like right now, right here. There is some. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, you're gonna wanna move these later, maybe. So we got the calipers ready, so hide them. Now, quick way to attach, since this model is already textured, I don't need to touch that, but I wanna make a single object out of it. So the way I do this quickly, select everything, convert to editable poly. This may take a while, a single bit now, and then since you got everything that you won't be attaching right now hidden, attach, match material IDs to material. It will chew it up a little, and there we go. So it nicely fell into this multi-sub-object material. And now if I want to change the color of the car, of course I have to first find it. So yeah, I cover everything about texturing your car and stuff like that in this tutorial, so you better check it out before you move on rigging the car. So now I can go back here and make the Ferrari red. So yeah, it's a Ferrari, it should be red, whatever. Okay, so let's go ahead now. Effect pivot only, center to object. Then my car is a single mesh, which is good. Okay, so to make sure all our wheels are exactly the same, we can also put one into kind of perfection for this, and just delete all the other wheels, so I can save it can save me some time. And now I need to drive this wheel, copy it to all the respective places on the respective axes that are relevant to this car rig. Again, if I moved this wheel over, made a copy, and a little higher, the rig won't work, especially the algorithm for the spring for the damping. So now if I'm happy with how large each of my wheels are, they are kinda large, too much. Of course, maybe even better idea is to use some other wheel from some other car model, but yeah, you get the idea. You can do whatever you want to your wheels, it's just up to you. If you get some better wheels, you know the rest, you export the wheel as an OBJ, import it into this file, and just try to put some better wheel. So I move this over here. Okay, so now I'm gonna drive this wheel to all the places so I know it is aligned, it is in same height, which is the most important thing for this. And we can continue and finally start rigging this. So yeah, so now I copy the rear wheel to the rear, of course. This I can align just visually. It's not that of a big deal. So yeah, a little closer, somewhere here. Seems okay. Now I'm gonna mirror it on the x-axis, and there you go. Do the same with this wheel. Move over, copy, align it just so it's so, and mirror. Okay, now rotate it. It's okay, it has this wiggle, but yeah, it's annoying, but hey, what can I do? I'm not gonna be replacing wheels now, it's pointless. So, okay, so it looks like we are all set. Now, good idea would be to put first break the link for this caliper, which I accidentally. Now, select all the wheels, link them to the car mesh. Now, take the car mesh and select move tool and put it. Okay, I forgot to link the calipers too. align them once again. I'm not gonna be doing this for beauty, hope you excuse me. Drag it here. Okay, something like that, whatever. Okay, select all the calipers, control, click, and link them to the car mesh. And now we can move all this. So with the move tool, select it, put the model into 0, 0, 0. Now 0 here, put it below the ground, so align it. Some ground plane can help you as well to check if it's on the ground, since you know the ground plane that you newly create is gonna be 0, 0, 0. Okay, there is a slight intersection here, so now my wheels are touching the ground. I can remove the ground plane. So okay, so let's start rigging this sucker. Hide the car mesh, and let's go ahead, and we're gonna be creating a lot of dummies, so better get ready. First, smallest one, align it here to this wheel's pivot. Now because we gonna have to grab onto this, it's a good idea to scale it, just so you know you can select it from the outside of a car. You will get the idea later. Align it once again just to make sure, apply, then create a copy, shift drag, then scale it a little bigger. This is gonna be the steering. Make a third copy, scale it even bigger, align it again, and XYZ. Okay, so gonna be shift dragging these elements later, so to make sure you got all the elements are the same, exactly the same. Now let's create a anchor for the wheels. Unhide the car mesh and place it where the damping anchor would be in reality, on a Z axis. This is okay. Place the pivot, look at the pivot, not at the size of the dummy. Yeah, I think this is okay. Now align it to the wheel, but not on the Z-axis. So yeah, this is looking pretty good. Hide it all, and now we're gonna create a line. Hold shift to make the line straight. For this line, make it less thick. This is gonna be our path constraint. Now align this line to the upper wheel anchor, XYZ, that's okay. And before you start to do anything else, go into the vertex mode, make this a little longer so it is touching the ground basically, and make the upper vertex, drag it a little lower. This is difficult to explain, but since the wheel will be traveling up and down here, uh, it's better to make the line a little longer. Okay, so you got this whole dummy system created, and now we're gonna start putting it to other places as well. So now go ahead and start linking from up to down. Link this one to this one, this one to this one in the hierarchy, from the largest one to the smallest one. Now select everything, shift drag, and since we know everything is aligned to one pivot, we can just safely copy it. This will save us a lot of time. Align it not on a z-axis. Now you can check if it's perfectly in this wheel center. It looks like it is. So this means we set up the z height well, so it won't mess up our calculations, which is looking good. Okay, now select it all once again, shift drag here, remove the middle dummy, since back wheels, they don't turn, so you don't need to have it there. Then align it to the back wheel except for the z-axis. Now check, align to this wheel if it moves any bit, and it doesn't, so cancel. So it looks like it's okay. Then shift drag this again and align to this wheel, X and Y only. Apply. Okay, and yeah, we got a basis for our rig, and hide the wheels, and let's go ahead create the calculations. So this is how we set up our anchors and stuff like that. So now we're gonna start constraining it, and we have to do this manually. So animation, constraints, path constraint onto here now, and this is important. This is what in other two it wasn't quite explained. First delete the keyframes, disable loop. Now you need to set it back into its original height. It doesn't have to be precise, okay? It's just an approximation. So this, as you can see, 30% looks like original position of this, so you have to put it back there, and you have to put it here in motion panel, percent along path, and put it back where it's been originally, and disable keyframes, delete them, and disable loop. Then you select the smallest dummy, go animation, constraint, path constraint, and now again delete the keyframes, and you have to put it back where it's been. So this might be 75, it's around 70%, it's let's see, 65% is looking, yeah, like it should. So now you have this constraint to this path, it's okay. So now you can see why we created this line longer. It's always better to have a space so you can move it, you know. And since we are using algorithm to drive this, and it multiplies, I mean, if you move this moves by some value. So let me show you that. So select the upper dummy, go ahead, assign controller, make sure you get all dummies, and also all objects are using position XYZ, Euler XYZ and Bezier scale. If they are using TCB, you have to go here and change it to position XYZ and so on and so on. Okay, so now you select the upper one, go to the position list, path constraint, linear float, and we're gonna use float expression. Okay, so now it created a value which is the value of where this dummy object is on this spline in a percentage. So I'm gonna load this expression, and since this expression was used for another car rig where starting position was 35, now you have to go and use the value, the starting value where you have the dummy in a percentage along path. So for example, if you had to put your dummy 25% along path, then you have to rewrite the expression right here. Now there is a P1 scalar which is not assigned to anything. You have to assign it to controller, and you have to assign it to this lower dummy, and you have to do it for every path constraint. So quick way to find out without renaming all this shit, you just go ahead, click on this dummy, so you can see it's dummy 001, but hey, when you're assigning to controller, it is selected blue. So first you select the dummy which you want to assign controller to in your viewport, and it will show up here highlighted in blue, so hey, you don't have to search for anything. So go to position list, now find the path constraint for this dummy, percent linear float. Okay, so now the P1 scalar is assigned to this dummy. Then you evaluate, it jumps a little bit up, which is okay, but you can play with these values. So let's try 0.07 and it jumps back. So you can see it's very easy. You just copy this expression, it will be in the description as well. So what you need to achieve is just align these the same, in the same position as where you started. Now since the Ferrari Enzo has a really, the height of the shock absorbers is really low and they are stiff, this is how you simulate the stiffness of the Enzo. Of course you can push it right back, but this is just for these wiggle little motions. So now as you can see, this one is already made, constrained, and it's in same position as when we originally created it. Okay, so by playing with these values, which you don't have to know what this is or why, just what you need to know is just play with these values, and you have to really carefully be absolutely sure that you have your dummies, all of them are the same and all of them are on the same Z position. That's the key. And if you screw up or something doesn't work, which happened to me many times, you just hey, go back, do it again, try it properly. First prepare your car like we did. Okay, that's the key. Now if your car is prepared and everything is aligned, the rigging this is actually very easy. So, and this is what you get. It's perfect. This is exactly what you get. So let's do the left one again. Animation constraint, path constraint, up here, and again, since you assigned some values on the first one, this first one is also the reference one, so I know how much we've done. We've done 30%, I believe. Yeah, 30% along path. Wait, but I don't like this. 65. Yeah, that's caused by the algorithm, applying the algorithm. So I know we've been at 30%. It's good to remember that, because after the math is applied, this value might be different, just slightly. It jumps. I mean, if it jumps just the 1% or 2, that's good, that's okay. If it jumps after 10% or whatever after applying a math, yeah, you don't want that. That's not good, of course. So let's go ahead, make it 30%. And again, these values has to be the same. So 30%, disable loop, deleted keyframes. Okay, next constraint, path constraint, this. And since this one didn't move, I know we did 65% for this. So do 65%, which puts him back where it should be. And after we apply math, it will jump just slightly up. It's okay. Remove the keyframe, and the first one. So now again, go to the upper one, go to the assign controller first, percent linear float, go float expression. Now select this dummy, load the expression, and since you got it 30, it's okay. And you have to make it make it exactly the same. You have to remember that, or write it down. Write down the values that you set on a first one for the first time, because you're gonna be using all the values, the same values, for all the other dummies. Now, this scalar is not assigned. Since we loaded it from file, you have to reassign it, but hey, with this little trick of highlighting your dummy in a viewport, you can go here and find it within 3 seconds. Linear float, okay. Evaluate, it jumps a little bit high. If you want it to be perfectly where it was, like try something like 6.5 or yeah, if you try 6.5, it will jump up back. And you know what, we can do this. We can, yeah, it came back to 30%, which is absolutely perfect position where it was. So let's go ahead and alter it here as well, make it 65, and now it's on 30%, which is exactly the same value where it was when we first started. Okay, check if it works, and it works flawlessly. And let's go and do this once again. Constraint, path constraint, here, put it to 30%, delete, disable loop, this one, animation constraints, path constraint, up, 65% was where we have been, disable loop, disable, then again back to controllers, position list, path constraint, percent linear float, float expression, load, suspension 30, 65, scalar, assign. Okay, first highlight the dummy you want to assign it to. It's here. Okay, transform, position list, path constraint, linear float. Okay, evaluate. And as you can see now, nothing moved a single bit, but hey, it's there. We have to relink this. Yeah, check your linking as well, since this one was linked to the middle and I deleted it, so naturally the link broke. Okay, so hey, this is how you have to deal with this expression. It wasn't quite explained, in a tutorial I've seen on it. It was a good tutorial, I have to give that. So again, animation constraints, path constraint here, put it back where it's been, where you first aligned it, 30% loop, disable, delete keyframes, position list, path constraint, percent linear float, float expression, highlight this one, load, and what we did 30 and 65 here, assign to controller, and it's this dummy. Okay, I know what the problem is. I didn't put constraint on it. Path constraint 65. Okay, so now path constraint is there, so assign to controller. Position list, path constraint, percent linear float, evaluate. Now, hey, it didn't move the bit, but it's working. Okay, so this is for the suspension algorithm. Just remember, everything has to be perfectly on a z-axis, otherwise it will change the variables. Since the algorithm calculates, it takes this value and makes a calculation. So if this thing moves, let's say 5 centimeters, it means this things move 0.5 centimeters. Okay, so there's a relation to it. It's a complex math, but hey, you don't have to be mathematician or whatever. Okay, so and let's now go ahead and so now we're gonna have to make axle system. Let's go ahead, click line, hold shift, can make it a little thicker, but don't enable it in render. Okay, make it like 10 or yeah, whatever, it's not that important. Go into the vertex mode, select one vertex, align it to front anchor XYZ, apply, select the second vertex, align it to the second anchor XYZ, apply, OK. So we got front axle, gonna make it less thick, 7 or yeah 5, I don't like these to be too thick. So now let's constrain this. First, click the line, effect pivot only, center to object first, align tool, align it to the, for our purpose, right side of a suspension, XYZ, apply, then animation constraint, path constraint, or sorry, animation constraint, position constraint to this dummy. Now test your work, it moves, that's okay. So now select the line again and we can put another constraint on it, constraint, look at constraint, this one. Okay, I got a feeling I moved something, so let's do this again. Okay, so now we're gonna constrain this line to the anchors. So make sure again your alignment is okay, align to this one, XYZ, apply, okay. Try to not move these at all while you're rigging, okay. Just when you test these, make sure you hit Control Z to go back where you've been. So vertex mode again, align it X, Y, Z, apply. Okay, so this axle would be constrained positionally to this one and looking at this one. So that's pretty easy. With a pivot, everything prepared. Go to animation constraint, position constraint, here, animation constraint, look at constraint, here. Okay, if your axle kind of flip in some direction, go here and yeah, check it out, check what's happening. Okay, but since X is going this direction, we are looking at X, it's okay. Then rear axle, align, shift, hold, and then select vertex. Yeah, the length of the line obviously doesn't matter because vertices will get aligned. Select another one. Okay, so that wasn't the right button. XYZ, apply, okay. Then since we got the pivot here and looking there, it's a good idea to make it same on both axles. So go here, select the line, affect pivot only, center. Then affect pivot only, align to this one, hop, apply, disable, affect pivot only, then animation constraint again, position constraint to this, animation constraint, look at constraint here. So there you have it, test it, that's okay, and that's okay too. So now we're gonna do differential again, line, then go ahead, create a dummy and a second, or even better, and a copy of it. Grab the first dummy, click align, click the front axle, and then center, not pivot point, but center of the line, which is here. Do the same to the back axle. Click X, Y, Z, center, apply. Now go ahead to this differential, go into vertex mode, click align to the front axle, then select the back vertex, align to the back axle. Now you have it aligned. So next thing you need to do is link the front dummy to the front axle and the rear dummy to the rear axle. Check if they are pitching and rolling. They are, it's okay. Now again you're gonna have to constrain it just the same as we did to the axles, so you do the same to the differential. Now let's positionally constrain it to the front and looking at the back and see what that does. So align the pivot to the front dummy, XYZ, apply, then go back, then animation constraint, position constraint here, animation constraint, look at constraint here. Now it happened, so we need to look at y-axis, so go ahead and select look at y, and there you go, and our base rig is prepared. Let's see what it does. Okay, it works just fine. So just check the back as well, and it's working. So that's all good. Save your work. Don't forget to save your work often. Then create a dummy. Align it to the differential XYZ, not pivot point but center. Apply and link it to the axle, to the differential, sorry. Check what it does. It's as you can see, it's not rolling. It has to roll to the side as well. Way you do that is go select the dummy, go to animation constraint, orientation constraint to this front dummy, and now it's doing just fine. Go ahead, create a new dummy, larger, align here, X, Y, Z, apply, and link it to this one. This is where you're gonna attach, where you're gonna link your car to. Okay, so let's create the hierarchy again with a detailed explanation. You have this dummy which we originally constrained to this differential. It has to pitch and it has to roll. You have this dummy linked to it, and then let's go ahead, create a new dummies. Don't make any copies at this phase. So now slowly create a dummy, align it to the first or second one, it doesn't matter, they have the same pivot. Apply, drag it up, and this dummy will be our I keychain. So you have to link this one to the outside from here, here, here. Okay, so let's go ahead, link it, because the reason we are doing this, because once we link all this shit to the one controller, it would break and it wouldn't work if you don't do this properly. Okay, now we go to animation, make a history independent solver between this dummy and this outside dummy. That's okay, that's all good. Now link the dummy, link it to the inside, to the differential, so it pitches and rolls, because this one is pitching and rolling. So if you link the I keychain, the I keychain will start pitching and rolling with it. That's it, that's perfect. Now, since you have all this created, we're gonna just make a controller for all this stuff. So you create another dummy, you drag it up, align it with this one, make it larger, smaller, it doesn't matter, but I suggest you do it exactly the same. Now you have to link this dummy to this differential dummy. This is very important, because if you don't do this, you wouldn't be able to link it to the steering and to the main controller, which will drive all of this. So link it to this main differential dummy. Now go to the I keychain and create another constraint. Create a position constraint to this dummy. First, it has to be this one first, then add this one, the second one, then weight them 90 to 10 or 10 to 90, it doesn't matter, you just try values, what works better for you, you use it. And now we got I keychain working. After all this shit is finished, we're gonna link the car afterwards. So now you create a circle. I don't need to show you that. Align the circle with this dummy, only X, not Y, not anything. I already got it linked, but I do it again. Hit apply, and now you start linking it. So you have to link all of these up to the circle. You have to link all of these because these are the end of the I keychain. Link them. Now let's see what it does. And it has to move, you know, everything has to move. So then you grab this controller. You can control pitch, you can control tilt, and if you grab this, it has to move all, you know, and this is perfect rig. So now you can steer it and everything is just fine. We worked at the with the view coordinate system all the time. You should be just fine if you follow the steps. But hey, we got a little problem here which we're gonna fix. So again, link this one to here, this one to here, I keychain to here, and then after you link all this stuff to the steering, it should just stay there. Now you can unhide the mesh. Yeah, we got this little problem because I had it linked. Yeah, I was talking about it, so yeah, don't worry about it. I can just scale it up, back up. Or I'm just gonna break the link. Yeah, that's relatively okay. Now with this rig you can move this, you know, anytime you want. Just quickly go to wireframe mode and link it to the outside dummy. And all of this, link it here. So, but normally you should link all this stuff after you've completed the rig and tested it, then connect it. So now, as you can see, I can move everything, but hey, I got some gimbal flipping. So how I'm gonna fix that? I'm gonna go to my Excels, motion tab, rotation here, RSS parameters, then select up node. This would be here. That's the Z, okay. Then again for this, select up node. Then for this one, select up node. Let's see what it does. And it's perfect. Okay, so this is how you rig the Enzo, but hey, we're gonna test it. Everything is working, everything dries, everything else. You got tilting control. So yeah, I could have moved this a little, yeah, a little more outside, but I can scale it. It won't break. It won't break my rig. Make it a little thicker, so you got some nice thing to hold on in your viewport. And now this is how it should look like. Okay, so we have the rig. It's working pretty good so far, and we just need to finish two last things, and that's rotations of the wheels, which we can do either by these dummies, or we can do it like one wheel by one. or we can do it by being driven by just one dummy wired to the X rotation only, which is not a constraint. It is kind of a constraint. It's the most effective way. I like to drive wheels so just by one controller, all four of them, so that's it. And we have to do the steering. So first we need to relink the wheels to this steering dummy. Reason why is that is because I want this dummy to control rotation of the front wheels. First I linked the wheels to this one. That was a mistake. You have to link it to the second one because I want this dummy to only control the spring motion, and this dummy will control the rotation. So now, and since now we got everything rigged, I can even scale the back wheels and make them bigger, and hey, it won't do anything bad to my rig, and it will stay in the pivot. So I fill it up a little bit more, so back wheels are now larger, which probably is the case for the Ferrari Enzo. So let's go ahead and create a dummy and align it to this second dummy, this one, which front wheels are connected to. X, Y, Z, apply, and then drive it forward. This will be our steering. Let's go ahead and align this to this one, do X, Y, Z, and move it over here, or to be precise we can align it on the Y-axis. So let's create a box, make it large so it's easy to grab onto, and link these two dummies to the box. In this case the order is not that important. You can make the constraint first and link it back, because I want to control these two dummies only by grabbing onto one of them. So that's the idea. Animation, constraint. We'll look at constraint. This dummy. Now weirdness, easy fix, keep initial offset in motion tab. What am I doing? Animation, constraints, look at constraint here. Keep initial offset. So now we got steering. I like to keep it like this, but you can make another circle here or half circle, and constraint, just create simple position constraint. I don't like to do that. It's yeah, it's not necessary. And now the last step, and that is rotation of the wheels. And you know, the rig is just fine. I don't like to do anything more. I think it's unnecessary. It gives you control by hand, so there are a few steps I just omitted, you know, a few last steps like Joey did it. I didn't. And it speeds things up pretty good. When I was doing this for the third time, it took me just like 20 minutes to rig this car. So, or I mean, rig any car, move it over. So okay, I didn't say it. Create a dummy, make it nice and big so you can grab it. Align it to the wheels, X, Y, Z. Move it over here. It doesn't matter much. And now we're just gonna wire rotation of the wheels to this controller, to this dummy. Okay, so let's wire rotation of the wheels. That's how I do it. Just wire it. Now I came across a very interesting problem, which may have something to do with the pivot. So let's address it. So when I want to wire, simply wire the rotation on the x-axis to this wheel. So the dummy controls the x rotation of the wheel. This is the dummy, this is the Enzo wheel connected. It just completely messes up, so I need to do something with the pivot, okay? Because x for this dummy, this is the x, and when it revolves around x, it revolves like this. So I have to align x-axis, which as you can see is pointing up for this wheel. I have to align it same. So that's what I was talking about, the preparation of the models, which is absolutely crucial. So let's try to mirror this on Y. See, X is still pointing up. So effect pivot only, make sure angle snap is on. We just need to get the pivot right. And now I can mirror this on X, and looks like X is pointing. Yeah, so this is the X, so it has to be X for this coordinate system. Make sure it's local, so you know every object has its x-axis right. So let's try it. It may work, it may not. Let's see. So let's wire transform rotation x rotation here, transform x rotation. So okay, and now it's okay. See, so check this wheel pivot, it's pointing like this. It should be okay. So let's wire it. Wiring is very easy convenient way to to do shit. Oh, whatever, sorry. Okay, this is one rotation, x rotation. Dummy controls the wheel, so one way connection. We don't need to rotate dummy with wheels, of course. So hey, and you do this for front, assuming that the car is four-wheel drive. You can do this the same way for the front and for the rear independently, but if you do complex animation, every one and single thing less to worry about is better. So wire transform rotation x here, x check, no, dummy is here, dummy controls the wheel, connect, and we got the same problem. So now I just flip the wheel, mirror it on Y, and it won't work, of course. So I have to do something with the pivot, effect pivot only, and I need to align the pivot like this, and now I can mirror the wheel on X. Is that right? I don't know. Yeah, that's okay. And do this wheel as well. Okay, align the pivot, and now mirror the wheel. Okay, and wire it. Wire transform rotation X, transform rotation X, and dummy controls the wheel, connect. So now yeah, this is funny. And so now we got funny thing, this wheel is, yeah, you can see it. So X pivot has to point that direction. So let's do this again. Effect pivot only. 180 degrees. Do it again. Here, yeah, here it's okay. And here should be okay. So it would be funny if you were doing blockbuster movie and didn't notice that kind of thing. They would probably break your contract. So everything works now. Okay, I can turn the wheels, I can steer, and in the last part of this tutorial I'm gonna show you how to actually manipulate with this thing. So let's cycle the rotation of the wheels first. So auto key, rotate, go 20 or so keys forward, rotate 120, disable auto key, graph editors, track view, curve editor. Now this is the curve. Way that thing is done is by clicking on somewhere on the empty area and invoke the appropriate toolbar. What you need to get is parameter out of curve, out of range types. Okay, so I can do relative repeat, and that way my wheels will be turning for the whole of the animation, and I can speed it up by dragging the keyframe. It's just a quick solution for the wheels spinning. It's just for now. Okay, I can offset it one frame and they will actually spin in a much more realistic fashion. But the reason why I did this was to show you that it won't break when you steer the car. It will still be in place, as you can see. So wheels are spinning, car is, and I can now keyframe the car travel. Okay, I need to link all of this to the main car controller. So all the wheels are spinning, and yeah, I can move it freely. I'll just delete the keys and link these two. Back to the box. So yeah, I can move it. So that's it. And the way you animate trajectory, of course you can still do something dramatic, you can still keyframe this, just set a key in one position, set another, and just shift drag all the keys. So, yeah. And you got this wheels bouncing. And way you can improve this is go to track view, curve editor, and here you can play with this and offset it, make it less violent, make it move less. Just a slight wiggle, just select these, and that way it will do just motion that you can barely notice, but as you can see, it's there, it's very quick, it's very realistic, and I'm pleased with that. Of course, since you got everything linked, you can move, adjust this. So, and the way you can animate some action stuff, do a line, smooth it out, all the way, and then of course you control it by this thing here, this, what the fuck, this circle. So how you do it is constrain, path constraint here. What I like to do this by hand. I like to, you know, animate this thing by hand. So I have just the basic trajectory. Then I go to motion tab, click follow, rotate it, and now my car is going on a spline, and I can keyframe this, you know. So auto key, I can do some violent drift, and I also do this manually, because my wheels are rotating with a relative repeat. So Enzo just goes here, counter steers, very violent, and counter steers back. So this is how you control the rig. Yeah, I like this scene. It's neat. So I think that's it. You got everything you need to create some very cool car animation. Yeah, you can also keyframe this as it goes into the turn. The whole car tilts, and yeah, that's pretty much it. You can wiggle it back, tilt it back. That's it. That's how this is done. Now if you want the Enzo, the password is right here on the screen now. It's on my other video. And if you want you know, to do something yourself, or learn how to texture, there are, or motion track or stuff like that, there are a couple of other tutorials. There are more coming very soon. I already prepared a tutorial on how to do this effect, also with some compositing workflow, you know, and making some nice stuff. So see you soon, and bye.